Yo, so in this video we're going to go through and rank all the bosses in Valheim by difficulty. Let's get into it. So in number 5 we have eikthyr. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. So going into this fight I literally had no skills pretty much, used no armour and just a stone axe, a crude bow, a wooden shield and wooden arrows. None of it upgraded, like as unprepared as you can be for this fight really. And obviously it's an absolute joke. I think the lowest I ever got on health was like 49 out of like 65, so absolutely joke of a fight, but it is the first fight, so it's not surprising. I kind of swap between bow and melee weapons throughout, just to give you an idea of which is like how easy it is with either. With a bow you can just shoot from a distance, never get hit sort of thing. And then with a melee weapon and a shield, the shield literally just blocks 100% of the damage at like level 0 with the worst shield you can find. So the fight is just as free as can be because you can't take damage. The biggest threat to you during this fight is literally eikthyr destroys a tree and it falls on you and kills you. But other than that, it's such an easy fight. So in number 4 we have Moda. So I think Moda might be one of the ones that people might disagree with, although hear me out and I'll explain why. So for the rest of these I use the best gear you can get really. So I've got fully upgraded wolf armor, got the Jorga Fang bow, silver sword and then a silver shield all maxed out, and then I swap between obsidian and poison arrows as those two are kind of the best two you can use. Also bought healing potions and frost resist, although I don't think that the frost resist does anything when you're also using the fur cape, but hey ho. So Moda is only 4th because basically it has like 4 different attacks, all of which are super like telegraphed. It's so obvious what they're doing and they don't hit hard. So the ice breath with the equipment that I've got now, which is basically the best you can get, does like 30 damage and you have over 200 health, so that's not really a big threat. And then by this point you've unlocked bonemass's ability, so you use that, and there's a few bits here which I'll show you where I take hits on purpose and they're doing like 7 damage. So you can literally just swing and swing away. And the most devastating attack that Moda has is the ice breath. But if you build a little mound out of the ground with the hoe, you can use that for cover and you can just not hardly ever get hit by it and it's fine. And even when it does hit you, it doesn't do that much damage. Like during this whole fight I have 220 health and I don't think I ever get below like 170. I think the main thing that makes Moda super easy is how slow it attacks. Like there's so much time between attacks that your health just regens. You're never at threat of dying because you have so much time. Whereas all the bosses coming up, you do not get that time. And then coming up at number 3, we have Yagluth. So Yagluth is the only one, like Yagluth and Moda were the only ones I wasn't sure about switching places with, but Yagluth's fire breath can be pretty devastating if it lands and you're not ready for it. One of the main things that makes Yagluth harder is that you kind of need the fire resist brew, whereas with Moda you can just bring like the wolf cape and that resists your frost for you, whereas here you have to actually drink a potion. So if you come into this unprepared, it is pretty devastating. Another thing that makes Yagluth a lot harder, as you can see I literally bought the best bow and needle arrows, leveled up my bow skill to level 100 just to prove a point, and the bow does like no damage, so you don't have the diversity that you do against Moda. In saying that though, you can pretty much just face tank all of Yagluth's hits and they just don't do a whole lot of damage. Plus, when he does his raining meteors from the sky, if you are underneath him, they just hit his head and you don't take any damage. So the main reason I put Yagluth over Moda is just the fact that if you come into Yagluth unprepared without fire resist, you are going to get destroyed, whereas with Moda, you're kind of forced to wear like a fur cape or bring frost resist because it's in the mountains. At number 2, we have the Elder. So I don't know if this is like controversial or whatnot, but the Elder is just one of the more difficult bosses. It is, when I was like recording these boss fights that you're seeing now, the Elder is the only one that almost killed me. So during this fight I did get down to 35 health, which is the lowest out of all the bosses, and for the sort of second half of the fight I am like below half health for most of it. The Elder is just relentless and just hits hard. The tentacles that grows out the ground are everywhere and are kind of hard to dodge, even though they only take 1 hit to kill. They are still there. The laser beam things it shoots at you They do mad damage and it shoots like 20, so it's hard to dodge. I think if the Elder wasn't where it was and didn't have like the pillars around it, the Elder might be even harder than our number 1. The Elder also does its little ground stomp, which can quite often get behind your shield, so even if you're blocking you still take damage. I will say though, for the first half I kind of used a bow just to showcase the bow, and then the second half I used melee only, and as you can see the first half I did a lot better. Using a bow with fire arrows and just hiding behind the pillars is a lot easier than trying to go melee only. I think if this was a melee only ranking, the Elder would definitely be number 1. In first place we have bone mass. So I don't think this is to anyone's surprise. I think everyone knows bone mass is the hardest, but basically if bone mass had like 30% extra health, I would 100% have died, just from the slow tick damage of poison. It's kind of just a race to see who kills who first. If you don't bring poison resistance against bone mass, I'm confident in saying it is virtually impossible. Literally the amount of damage you take, even with a potion, is insane. So other than the poison, bone mass isn't difficult really. It is just the poison. But on top of that, it also throws out and summons skeletons, throws out little blobs. So you have extra things to fight, including bone mass, which is the only boss to do that, unless you count the vines from the Elder, but I don't really count them. On top of that, it's constantly raining in swamps, so you have the debuff from being wet, which reduces your stamina. I do also want to say the gap between the first 4 and bone mass is quite big. Bone mass is by far the hardest boss if you aren't prepared for it. If you don't know exactly how to kill bone mass, you will lose. Literally every weapon apart from a blunt force weapon, so a mace, will not work, you will die. Arrows don't work, you will die. You have to bring poison resistance or you will die. And you have to bring health potions or you will die. You can probably do it without health potions, although it'll be close. I think the only thing keeping this boss fight from being, like, I'm not going to say impossible, but really hard, is the fact that at this point in the game you can get serpent meat and serpent stew, which is 2 insane foods super early on. The fight with Yagluth kind of functions the same as bone mass, however you have so much more health and your health regens so much faster because you have so much better food, and the tick damage just isn't as big of a factor compared to the poison from bone mass. Bone mass also has the coolest looking trophy after its little remodel. But yeah, that's my ranking of all the bosses in Valheim. Let me know if you agree or disagree or where you would place who. But thank you for watching and catch you in the next one.